Whoever is managing communications for the dumpster fire of a campaign for Kamala Harris should be out of a job today.
I'm sorry, you're fired. Get out of here.
Harris just looked crazy, confrontational, and every single answer was, hey, it's Donald Trump's fault.
They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
I would have never, ever let Harris sit down with that bulldog, Brett Baer. I mean, look at his answer here when it comes to having no idea what she's talking about.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President,
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
If I were advising Harris, I would have used the classic line of, you're never hurt by anything you do not say.
I mean it. I mean it.
Use the Joe Biden strategy in 2020. Sit in your basement.
He's created his own sanctuary city in the basement of wherever he is.
Give rallies. Don't do interviews. And look at how it turned out.
I'm talking like 4 people waving their hands like it's got to stop.
Joining us now to break down that dumpster fire of an interview is former Congressman George Santos. George, always good to see you. How are you?
How are you, Steph? It's always great to be here with you.
So I just want to first, right off the bat, get your reaction in totality of the entire interview with Kamala Harris.
Oh, coconuts are falling off trees at this point because let's be honest, that was literally the perfect depiction of a coconut falling from a very tall coconut tree and splattering all over the ground. Because, look, VP Harris, I think now I understand, and I think now the American people understand why all of her interviews have been pre-rehearsed with agreements to edit answers post-interview. Hence, nothing has been really done live. And that every time she does do these interviews, she just bombs. Look, I'm a Trump supporter. I'm not going to pretend I'm not biased. I'm very biased. I'm a Trump supporter. I try to look at this as unbiased as possible. Here's something I can say. Here's something Kamala Harris could have done yesterday with Brett Baer. She could have squashed the border czar situation, which in reality, she could have just said, look, I wasn't the border czar. If she's so adamant she wasn't, she could have explained, I was appointed to go to the triangle countries and understand the economic situation, and hence the reason it projected so many economic migrants to the U.S., not asylum seekers. She had to be honest of what was going on. The problem is she failed to do that. She failed to explain to us what the issue was, and she also failed to address to the American people that this is Joe Biden and Secretary Mayorkas' fault. So the reality is, Kamala Harris needs to pull a page out of the Lyndon B. Johnson successor, his VP, which now his name escapes me, but I don't know if you've ever read this in political history. He threw Lyndon B. Johnson under the bus 4 weeks out of the campaign in order to be competitive with Nixon, which he did become competitive. Nixon ultimately won, but she needs to start blaming Biden for what he did that she disagrees with, and it just seems like she won't. Now, part of that, I believe, is because the Pelosi camp won't let her do that. So I don't want her to be successful because I don't like her ideas. I don't like her vision for the country. But yesterday, Steph, it was great to watch because she got tossed kind of like a mid-easy level interviewer from Fox News. It could have been a lot worse from the pool of interviewers at Fox. Had she sat in front of a Shannon Bream, a Martha McCallum, even a Sean Hannity or an Ingram, she would have been decimated. I think the only easier person in Fox that she could have gotten would have been probably Neil Cavuto. But she bombed. She bombed with Brett Baer, who is probably one of the most even-keeled people on Fox News. She just couldn't do it.
But why did she even do it in the first place? Because again, if I'm consulting the Harris campaign, and as you see, there's a Ramaswamy sign behind me. I was his spokesman and deputy comms director. I would have said, don't do it. Like, you're never hurt by anything you do not say. And the risk far outweighed the reward.
It's that point in a campaign. You've run campaigns. You've run for office. I've done the same. You hit a point when you're tanking and you're underwater, you just throw anything to see what sticks. Kamala Harris is underwater. Her internals show it. National polls show it. Trump's momentum is just growing bigger and bigger. And that honeymoon period is over. The sugar high is now crashing. It's like getting an ADHD child who is naturally hyper and high and giving him loads of candy on Halloween night. So there was that massive sugar high when she cooed Joe Biden, and the Democrat Party essentially threw away the electorate of Joe Biden without putting anyone through the process of an election, and just crowned and anointed Kamala Harris. What happens with that is they're seeing the repercussions of that. I'm hearing of Biden voters in 2020 saying they're voting for Trump because they don't like what Kamala Harris did to Biden. So that should tell you she's underwater. So she's just throwing anything. It's like that old saying, throw the pasta to the wall. If it sticks, it's ready. She's just throwing raw pasta at the wall at this point and praying it sticks.
Yeah, it's bouncing right back. Last question for you. You faced a ton of microphones over your career, whether it was softball questions, tough questions, you name it, you've seen the gauntlet. So moving forward then, if Kamala Harris says, hey, George, should I do another interview ever again? What would you say to her?
Absolutely not. Go in hiding and just stay away from the cameras. Every time you go in the cameras, you lose 0.5 percentage point. But you know what? If I want her to lose, I'll tell her, just do what you're doing. Keep on keeping on, Kamala. You're doing great. Look, the reality is when you have these many microphones, these many interviews in your face, you don't know what's coming your way. I half of the time had no clue what was coming my way. 99% of the questions were not softballs. And Kamala Harris is the opposite. She has had only softballs thrown at her. And when she got a heavy pitching reporter, which I think we can all agree, Brett Baer isn't the worst that could have happened to her. She couldn't handle a fair reporter that wasn't pandering or softball pitching her. So I think it was very telling yesterday, and I think it's very telling that she should stay away from interviews. Now I understand why her and Governor Walz have absolutely avoided press and live interviews. It's because they just can't do them. They're incapable of doing them.
Just train wrecks. All right, George, I really appreciate your perspective on that, and be waiting with bated breath at the phone in case Kamala calls you, okay?
I can't wait to get that phone call.